Suso, tira Alessio, Suso, tira, perché non tiriamo? Ma perché non tiriamo? Gol! Alessio Romagnoli, goal! Alessio Romagnoli!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher, back after a week in quarantine. It was a very stressful week for me. Went to Barcelona, came back, started feeling ill, and then, apparently there's some bug going around at the moment that a few people have got. So, just as a precaution, I was put into an isolated room, and by punishment, I was forced to watch the game on Sunday as well. So it's like solitary confinement more than anything. Joined by Anthony Torgrud.
What's up, guys? I wasn't in quarantine. I'm here every week, and yeah, also had to watch the game. Not too fun for that one, but follow me on Twitter, Tord45. We got Maddie with us.
Yeah, Oliver, happy that you're back, healthy.
Thank you.
I watched about half the game. You guys can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Madison_DT.
Hard sell.
That's like a game show where you have to go around and it's like Alcoholics Anonymous almost, where you go around and you say, "Yep, I'm 6 months now," and everyone's admitted how much of it they managed to get through.
Yep, I'm an AC Milan fan. Been one for 10 years.
Milan Anonymous.
Yeah. To clarify, I better clarify, I wasn't actually in quarantine, and really probably shouldn't joke about it because the league basically doesn't exist anymore as a result of the coronavirus outbreak. I think it's like over 4,000 cases now in Italy, and obviously northern Italy's been hit the hardest by it all. And I won't speculate, but I know that the death toll is definitely over 300 now, and there was a sharp rise in it over the last 48 hours. So really, it's just a case of if you're in northern Italy, if you're anywhere, just stay safe, because it appears that this thing is not as under control as everybody makes out. I've seen that Milan have officially donated 250,000 euros to the emergency response efforts that are going on in Lombardy, which is a really, really good thing. It sounds like they need all the help that they can get. I read a really interesting Twitter thread earlier from somebody who works at a hospital in Bergamo. Obviously, Bergamo is like 40 minutes north. It's Atalanta's city and that. And saying that, the way that the media are reporting this is very irresponsible. The main crime at the moment is ignorance. Like, they're running out of beds. They're running out of breathing apparatus. They keep diagnosing people with pneumonia to try and keep it out of the media, and I don't know if any of that is, but it sounds like it could be true. It was pretty eye-opening, and it certainly contributes to why these numbers are rising so rapidly. But that's it. It may have seemed a trivial thing when we mentioned it last, but now we don't have a game to preview this weekend. That's the severity of the situation that we're in. But given the way we played on Sunday, probably for the best.
I feel like playing in an empty stadium's got to be hard. That's probably part of the reason why they practiced there on Saturday, if I'm correct.
Did a load of good that.
What?
Did a load of good that, didn't it? Practicing in front of an empty stadium on Saturday.
But also there's so much drama going around the club. The players clearly are just super distracted. Zlatan is pissed off. And you could tell by their performance on Sunday that they're just not there. I mean, they're probably scared themselves. I don't blame them. I'm scared, and there's nothing in my state yet officially.
Yes, there is. Officially, there is. I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that as well, actually.
Yeah. There isn't. There is zero.
There was one in Detroit, I thought.
Nah, that's just Detroit.
Man, he's scared. He's like, oh,
just
no.
Just a crackhead.
Just a crackhead.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, it's got to be hard as the team and as the coach to play or instruct a team when you will not be there next season. Pioli knows he's gone. That's been confirmed by the dismissal of Boban, essentially. It's been confirmed by our sources as well, but officially they've denied it. We know it to be true, and Pioli has no reason to continue. It doesn't hurt him or help him to do good realistically, and the players know that as well, and they know with Rangnick's new system coming in, good chance most of them leave, if not the stars. So there doesn't seem to be any incentive for anyone right now, and it couldn't have come at a worse time. We were on a tear in the January, and then after the Derby defeat, it's just been kind of malaise, and now it seems like we're over it. So It's a rough spot.
It's a very, very rough spot. It's very rough. There's been less than a handful of times over the past 8 years, would you say, that this shitstorm's really been going on and we've fallen off our perch, etc. But there's been only a few times when I've been embarrassed to be a fan of the club. And obviously I wasn't here last week to talk about what Boban said and everything like that. I'm genuinely embarrassed at the moment to be a fan of the club. I'm getting people who, don't have any vested interest in Serie A. They're just like mates of mine who were saying your club's in a mess, all this kind of stuff. And that's when you realise that it's going beyond us. It's beyond the banter era stuff that we can be jovial about. We've got directors publicly slanging each other. We've got, that interview from Boban. I understand the angle of it being the fans who appreciate him putting his neck on the line and wanting to speak some home truths about what's going on, because he is ultimately an ex-player of the club, a club legend, and he wants what's best for the club moving forward. In my opinion, it was badly timed and it was a poor choice of words, and I think that it proves that he's still new in the role. You've got to be more diplomatic than what he was, and you perhaps wait until the end of the season when you've left having not said that kind of thing. If he leaves at the end of the season because he's not it comes out that he's not got compatible views with Gazidis, absolutely fine. Then you can maybe give your interview, and then you can say why it didn't work out. The fact that he hung us out to dry in one of our most crucial phases of the season, where we're pushing for that Europa League spot, and that's now going to look more and more important, because if what they're saying is going to happen does happen, and they finish the season early because of coronavirus, I think that's a real possibility, because the fixture schedule's already getting rammed towards the end of the season as it is. I think they end up finishing it. We wouldn't be in Europe next season, because they're saying that they're going to keep the European spots the way that they are and just not award a league title to anyone. And then they're going to promote 2 teams from Serie B and not relegate anyone and have a 22-team league next season. That's what Republica are saying, and whether that's true or not, I can see that as a feasible. You need to work something out. You can't award a title to Juve after 26 games. You can't. But something needs to happen. And as it stands, we would be without Europa League. We would be out without that extra revenue that Gazidis seems to think is so desperate. And it's just absolute carnage. It's absolute carnage. I think the club, quite frankly, they were right, really, to sack him. It's painful that it's ended this way, because we thought that we could maybe finally get the appointment of club legends at director level right, and we could move forward with 2 people in Boban and Maldini who really wanted the best for us and actually sort of understood what Elliott were trying to do. It's now become very clear that that's not the case. I think Maldini's going to leave as well. Set for another revolution. Rangnick's going to come in. Is he going to get the time? Is he going to get the patience that he needs? God knows. In a year's time, we could be talking about another revolution where, we're bringing in Spalletti or something like that. You just don't know, man. It's really, really bugging me now. It's exhausting.
I do think, and to go back to Boban real quick, actually, you're right. He's always been fiery, hot-headed on the pitch and off of it, even when he was working for FIFA. And you don't give that interview during the season, not at a time like this. You give that after you've left at the end of the season. Your behaviors have directly affected the club's performance, and that was apparent this weekend. But don't need to go too much into it. Maddie and I kind of touched on it last week. Obviously, you weren't here, so. But to move forward, I do think that Rangnick will get a good amount of time on this. And this is kind of a tough pill to swallow, but I think it's realistic, and I might catch some heat for it, but we should probably start accepting this. We've now been a Europa to mid-table club for 6 seasons consecutively.
But that's not true. It's not true. We were 1 point off top 4 last season.
So where does that end us? Europa League. I'm considering that.
Yeah. I just think I think this last 6 to 8 months in particular, we've taken such a sizable step back from the foundation that we'd built.
We have.
I agree with that too, but I would say last
overall
season was more so the anomaly in this stretch of years than anything. We all thought it was a sign of growth, but it turned out to be. I mean, actually, maybe it was, and we just went backwards this year. But regardless, my point is, I think they could use that as kind of an excuse for like, hey, even if we do poorly under his first year, give him a second one. Let's grow under this. Let's develop some stuff. Let's build off of the foundation we're making now. And because that's really the only thing we haven't tried yet. Since we lost Allegri and since we lost the Champions League, the only thing we haven't done is give the foundation that we've laid time to develop. We've changed it every single year. So what harm is there to say, let's give it another go next year and just try to continue what we've already created? The change of system every single year and keeping those core players, it's only making it more difficult for them even. So if we change the whole thing and we change all the players, then give them at least 2 straight years of that, let them build into something, but we can't keep changing up everything every single year. It makes it difficult for everyone, and it hurts the players' careers in the long run. If they choose to stay, if they choose to go, it hurts them. So it's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to the players. Something's got to give, and
I think this stretch that we've had in the last, since Allegri left, as you say, the stretch that we've had of sort of hiring, none of these have been elite coaches. They've been gambles. You look at Seedorf, who didn't have any managerial experience. Same with Inzaghi. Same with Mihailovic. Montella had a little bit, but it, again, was still a risk. And then, obviously, Gattuso, very little managerial experience at top level. And then Gianpaolo, which just didn't work out at all. Stefano Pioli was not the glamorous appointment that we were all hoping to try and get our season back on track. If we're going to do it, I think, yeah, true. I think if we're doing it now, we're going in a completely new direction. Like this whole head coach, sporting director thing, it's a last roll of the dice. It feels like a last roll of the dice until we have to actually accept that this is what we are now. Mediocre, mid-table, may occasionally overperform. We're just so far behind, like the elite clubs in this country, the elite clubs in Europe, in terms of the revenue that we get, in terms of what our squad is worth, and clearly in terms of ownership as well, if they're wanting to impose a strict salary cap that's only going to really limit our ambitions and what Rangnick might want to do. I think that's a very strange foot to try and get off on, but I don't know. It feels like we're just trying to kind of downsize and streamline everything and hope that, right, this is where it all clicks. And I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna.
I don't know how much the salary cap, because like I can't imagine that Gazidis is going to be like 2 million across the board. No one gets more, because you're not going to do anything with that. I got to imagine that he's probably like, if we're signing a new player who is not world class, like a Benacer or someone of that quality, 2 million max. Then when they prove their worth, they get a pay raise, because then you don't run into like a Biglia who's getting 3.5 a season, and he's played a half a season total, or a Conte who is probably making more than 2, and he is awful,
and played half a season in 3 seasons.
Yeah. So I feel like the salary cap could be a little beneficial as long as it's done right, because if we are expecting to win the league on a 2 million per player salary, that's not going to happen at all.
There's got to be exceptions to the rule.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's most
Donnarumma.
likely.
Are you going to sell Donnarumma to raise capital, or because he's on 6 million a season?
They'll say it's the former, but really we know it's the latter. If we had a chance of keeping him on under parameters that Elliott management thought were affordable, and because one thing I will say is, if you go now and you give Donnarumma even a little pay rise, you get him to sign like a 5-year deal at 7 million a year. So that's a really dangerous precedent for when we come around to talking about other renewals. Maybe sometimes you do need to take a firm stance and say, look, either you take a little hit because you love the club, which you shouldn't have to do. You shouldn't get a discount for loyalty, but take a little hit, buy into this project, because trust me, we really, really believe in it. And if we can just tempt him one more time, we could even say, do us a favour, sign this new contract, give it a year. If we're not back in the top 4, we'll let you leave, but we need to get a fee for you. That seems like the most logical way to go about things at the moment. I don't think we should be holding Donnarumma past the age of 23 if we haven't made the top 4. It's not particularly fair.
I was thinking the same thing after the podcast last week, except I thought like 25. I was like, if by the time he's 25 and we are still in the midst of this rebuild that's taken now 10 years at that point, let him go. Just like,
if there's one person in the world as well that's gonna if there's one agent in the world who's going to remind their client that they only get one career, they only get one shot at a career, then it's going to be Mino Raiola. He's going to say, look, I've got Real Madrid, PSG, Chelsea, whoever, Juve even, here queued up for you. They're going to give you more money, and you're going to get to you're going to get to win trophies straight away. Like, I don't know, man.
There's not a club in the world that I don't think he could walk onto right now. Genuinely, I think he's that good.
Atletico, probably. I've got Oblak above him.
Oblak's had a terrible season. He's been one of the worst goalkeepers in Europe this year.
Harsh, untrue.
Chelsea's goalie.
He's still.
Kepa's pretty bad, but I think he walks right into there too. So
yeah.
Jordan Pickford.
Yeah, Pickford's trash.
Interestingly,
good one tournament.
Interestingly, there was the thing about Real Madrid saying there was a report that came out from Spain, and it is a bit ludicrous about them looking for a backup to Courtois, and they wanted Donnarumma as a backup to Courtois, and people rightly lost their mind. But also, Courtois over the last couple of months has been absolutely exceptional. Yeah.
If you look at overall season performances, I would pick Donnarumma, but in the last few months, absolutely, there's no reason Real Madrid should dump Courtois. Now, if they want to do a swap, I don't think that's a bad deal for either of us, but he would never accept that.
I've just done a quick little search, like on the fly here, about this salary cap thing, and I'm looking here at Capology, and like you can only see so much with a free account, but I can already see that there's at least 8 players at Leipzig at the moment that are on over €2.5 million a year.
It's not doable.
If he was to say to you though, all right, you want to get to that level, that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to pay, because this is my problem with and this is my worry with, the way that Salzburg have gone about things by buying promising youngsters from sort of second division teams in France, whatever, developing them until they're in the prime, sort of 22, 23, and selling them on. That won't wash with our fan base, really. And also, let's say you hit gold with somebody like we signed Teo Hernandez on good terms. He's been one of the best left backs in Europe this season. What happens when in 2 years he wants a pay rise? Do we let him
walk? A pay cut to come here too. I mean, he deserves the pay rise. He deserves to at least be making what he was getting at Madrid. He's earned that.
And that is a disco. I've seen that more and more over the last week as well. It's not just the likes of Donnarumma, Romagnoli we need to worry about. It's also the idea that Rebic's loan might be terminated early because he's on 3 mil. But even Teo, they're saying that there's going to be big offers that come in, and it's going to really test where we are in terms of, are we doing this purely to get the balance sheet back to zero, or is there actually any sporting ambition whatsoever?
And I've heard 2 different things. I've heard from a couple different sources, La Repubblica being the biggest component for the wage cap, but one was saying 2 million, one was saying 4 million. And I don't know which one is most likely, but I think for a club like us, 4 million makes the most sense, surely. I mean,
yeah. Otherwise,
the idea of Donnarumma taking that 2 million cut as opposed to a 4 million cut is a lot more realistic. I don't think it happens either way.
But also, I know that they don't make these things public.
Right.
Don't talk about having a salary cap, because players are not going to want to come here.
And I do think it's a weird thing to be leaked to the media, because obviously that's how the media gets stories. It's leaked from people in the club. Everyone knows that. So something like this is a very strange leak, like you say, Maddie. And that's why I'm looking at the sources, and no offense to any of them reporting out there, but they haven't been known to be 100% reliable in all cases. So I don't know what my thoughts are, if I'm getting fully behind it or not. I hope it's not true, but I also can see it, because I think that's where we are monetarily. Like, we're not even in the top 20 top 20 earning clubs in Europe right now. That's pathetic for us.
Yeah, we just slipped out, didn't we? We're 21st now, as per the Deloitte Money League thing. Yeah, I think the salary cap is probably a combination of, the club have made it clear that they need to, through comments, through actual official statements from the likes of Gazidis, that they need to slash the wage bill, because under the Chinese ownership there were so many bad contracts signed. Even stuff like Çalhanoğlu's deal looks terrible now.
And that's understandable, but also why I see these media outlets taking that and rolling with it, kind of making a little something out of it.
2
and
and 2
I
to
also
make 5.
I think with this big break that we're going to have going up till April 3rd, potentially longer, and I know Scaroni just recently mentioned there's another meeting with the city councilman about the stadium. I bet in the next couple of weeks we're going to see the revival of rumors about the Louis Vuitton group taking over, because that was the last thing mentioned, was that the stadium was the last detail required.
But why would Gazidis go through and hire all the Rangnick and talk about all, and fire Boban if they're going to sell the club?
I mean, when a new ownership comes in, they usually replace everyone anyway. So maybe this is Elliot Monet's thing. Maybe that's what they're looking to do, is bring in Rangnick. I don't know.
I don't know.
We're going to see more media BS in the off time here. We're going to see a lot more stuff pop back up.
Yeah, without having a game. Yeah, we are, without a doubt. I think the stadium thing is massively, massively important. And I think you're right. I think that will spark a revival of rumours. And I understand the counter-argument to that being, well, why is Gazidis planning for next season if there's going to be a new ownership and there's going to be such a big overhaul? Maybe there won't. Maybe if it's the Louis Vuitton group or whatever, have already made it clear that they want him to stay around to help bridge the gap into the new era or something like that. And they've said, this is who we want as our next coach, because you don't know, all kinds of stuff could be going on. And we've already bloody rejected a 1.2 billion euro offer from that American billionaire guy.
Which is weird, because it's 200 million more than what Elliott claimed they wanted for the club anyways.
Which is great, because we don't want American owners.
Right. We talked about that last week. But to me, that's another sign that there might be another agreement going on,
Yeah, possibly. It might be an exclusivity thing.
Exactly.
We don't know. I don't know. Nothing would surprise me with this club anymore. I think it would make for a really, really fascinating documentary if you could sort of
understand what's going on.
Yeah, if you could, I don't know, fly
like
on the wall
Sunderland
kind
till
of
I
thing.
Die sort of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're doing a second series of that, by the way, which is
they're gonna have them get relegated twice or whatever, something like.
They went down again.
Yeah,
it was great. Wait, they got relegated again after? Oh, that's right.
No, they got relegated in that season.
Yeah, right.
But then this is gonna focus on and then they stayed down again last season in the third tier. It's I don't know what to liken it to really, but they are a big club. Really, they should be doing a lot better. We've grown up with them pretty much always being in the Premier League. So
yeah, it's like Nottingham Forest. They used to be Europe's best, and now they're obscurity. I mean, where are they? Are they in the 4th division?
15 years. Fuck out of my face.
Maddie, this black
cat just ruined a really serious point from Maddie there by just dashing across the screen.
Black cats are bad luck. It's Maddie's fault we're in this position.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Blame on the cat, not me.
So all the stuff going on off the field, we better talk about what happened on the field, even though we don't want to.
That's the thing. Did anything happen on the field?
Not happened in the stands apart from Gazidis being sat on his own. That was quite, in a sadistic way, I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, there you go, that's what you've done, mate. You've alienated everyone. Whether what he's doing for the club moving forward you think is objectively right or incorrect, at least be on good terms with the people that you're working with.
I agree.
If you're contacting someone, let them know. You can't
be going behind their back. I mean, ultimately, everything Boban said was correct, but he said it at the wrong time, which is why he got sacked.
And you should say it to Gazidis, not the media.
Yeah. If you have a dispute internally, keep it internally.
He probably did, and it wasn't listened to. But these are the thing about, it's not even that. It's like Sky who've come out and said they're just not talking to each other anymore. Maldini and Mazzara are not talking to Gazidis, vice versa. Gazidis shows up to the game on his own. Milan press office trying to cover their back really intelligently by saying, Maldini and Mazzara weren't there because of health reasons. And then it's assuming staying away because of the coronavirus. And then Gazidis is sat there. It's like, come on, lads, do better.
Yeah.
If you're gonna lie to us, at least do it creatively. Make us. Right. It's just
say something believable.
Oh man, I'm struggling. But anyway, a game did happen. for all that we've taken steps forward in recent weeks, despite everything going on off the field, that for me was a massive step back, purely because of the 2 goals that we conceded. They were really, really similar. The strong part of our defense this season has been the left side, and that let us down on both occasions. And I'm just like, everything's going wrong at the moment. It was just boring to watch. I was bored.
I didn't see any positives from really anyone. I mean, even Zlatan, who scored a goal, that's the only positive there is, and that's not that positive because of how many clear-cut chances he missed. I think it's very apparent that Begovic is not cut out to be. I mean, granted, it was a cross and a tap-in from the far side.
Him for being there.
I'm not either, but he also
saved us
2
points
on the cross.
He saved us a point against Fiorentina, to be brutally honest.
Well, he also conceded it. I mean, with
penalty.
Oh, it was a penalty. That's right.
Yeah,
okay. I was totally thinking of Reina's free kick against Genoa in the first leg when he spilled it. Yeah, never mind.
Oh yeah.
But he also saved a penalty in that game too. So I don't know.
You know, the game is pretty much summed up when Benacer and Ibra went for the shot at the same time and just ran into each other like that. That's the only thing that you know about the game.
And what's crazy about that to me is it was dead silent. You could hear everything.
I know.
How are you not talking to each other?
There was a really, really good feature that went out today. I think it was Corriere dello Sport who was saying that, like, you could hear everything that the players were saying to each other, to the extent that for the first goal, you heard Romagnoli say to Teo to, leave your man, let him go wide. And then as soon as that happened, you then saw Sanabria take up a position in between Romagnoli and Teo Hernandez, and that's when he got him behind him. It's like you heard Romagnoli audibly give the wrong advice, and it ended up costing us. And there were a couple of other ones as well, like you could hear Zlatan shouting at players, and he wasn't saying very flattering things. He lost his head, to be honest.
Without a doubt. And I think
do I blame him? Not really.
And obviously Zlatan's not the manager, but how many times have we said since his arrival that he's coaching the team? Everyone rallied behind him. I think he's lost the locker room now too, because there's only so many times that you could go into halftime after missing some clear-cut chances, yelling at the other team's players and motivating them. You get a guy like Castillejo who's been known to kind of be a bit of a rebel. You're not going to yell at him after you just missed a 1v1 with the keeper. You're not going to tell him to do better.
Yeah.
He's going to say something.
Yelling the other way.
Exactly. So then there's just no motivation in the locker room. Pioli doesn't care. It's bad. And the other thing with Benacer taking
I'm not.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to pin on just on that. I'm not pinning any blame here on Pioli. I think he's tried his hardest and his damnedest, despite the absolute circus that's going on around him.
I think he has as well, but I do think he made poor
dysfunctional group
substitutions.
of players. Yeah, you can critique him for little things within game, little bits of group, little bits of game management. But in terms of a collective effort of how he's doing, despite all the uncertainty off the field, like his direct superiors rowing in the media, the squad no doubt feeling alienated and confused as to what their futures are at the club. He's been the one who's tried to pull it all together, and the performances have improved this year. They have. That was our second loss of the calendar year, and it was a bad defeat, don't get me wrong. It was a bad loss, and it's going to be damaging for the European race, but I really can't apportion much of the blame to him at all, in terms of what's going on. However, that record now of 17 points in 13 home games we've got under him, that's not great.
No.
That's like a stat that you can't deny. You can say all you want that the performances have been good and that we're showing signs of improvement and gelling and stuff like that, but I really don't think that the damage that Gianpaolo did was that irreversible. To the extent we should always be picking up
past getting back from Gianpaolo's era now. I mean, he had 7 games. We're well beyond that.
He had 7 games in the summer, and I know Pioli's counter argument would be give me a summer. But I don't know. He's gone. Unfortunately, he's gone. I like the guy. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's always been he's handled himself really, really well in the media. Really well. He gets paggered with questions every single week about his future at the club and about everything that's going on around him. And he's always very diplomatic. He always says, look, I'm going to focus on doing the best job I can between now and the end of the season. So I feel sorry for him in all this. I don't give him much blame. I agree. There are substitutions that I think are weird. Do I think that game warranted a Çalhanoğlu for Bonaventura sub? No. Bonaventura did all right when he came on. He looked like he was trying to score at least. But what the hell does Paqueta have to do to get a game? You know, like we needed the flair, we needed the creativity. That could have been his big watershed moment, and again, completely snubbed. Then the third substitution, subbing a right back.
Yeah, Conti for Calabria in the 92nd minute when you're down 1 at home.
Is he fucking time wasting?
Yeah.
Like what? I didn't get it. I didn't get that.
It made no sense. I just took a look out of curiosity here. I looked at the 7 fixtures that Giampaolo had, and now Pioli has played all 7 of the reverses of that. And I looked, both of them only got 3 wins. Now, Pioli's had a couple draws, whereas Giampaolo had losses. But, I mean, 9 points is 9 points. That's all they got. And weirdly, they weren't even the same teams. They were the opposite teams, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's, I don't know if that shows that it's not just the coach.
It's kind of mad that you talk about Giampaolo's 7th game, which would be his last game, was the win at Genoa. It wasn't pretty, but then Pioli, when all the rumours have come out that like it's the end for him as well, but at the end of the season was the Genoa game, and then he loses 2-1. How far have we really come? I guess would be the counterpoint to that. But no, it wasn't.
I feel like if everything had not gone on in the media, we would have played much better.
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair.
I thought playing behind closed doors, honestly, would be a slight advantage. Because I think if you let fans in and there's 50,000 there and the players look up, obviously good atmosphere does help, but then the players look up and they see a protest banner from the Curva Sud, which there would have been. And what always happens if we're struggling in a game, if we'd have gone a goal down in that, the crowd would have got right on their backs, as they always do.
Especially the 7th minute like we did.
Sometimes that helps.
Sometimes it does, but we've had years where it hasn't helped. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it might help us a little bit with it being more of a pre-season-y kind of, but we played like it was a pre-season game, and that is part of the problem. Yeah, some of it was at jogging pace. Kessier went back to his usual running around like a headless chicken thing. There's very few players who escaped without criticism for me.
But I feel like
Rebic was awful.
I honestly thought that playing in an empty San Siro would have been a little intimidating for Genoa. It looks like a giant building around you. You know, like that just it would be intimidating.
The thing is for Genoa, though, I mean, they're right now 2 points separates them from 15th place, and 1 point separates them. Or no, they're in 18th. They're in relegation still, right? I mean, the difference between relegation and 15th is 3 points. So they needed that win more than anything. And it's just unfortunate for them that Verona didn't get the W to help them get out. But they came with a lot more motivation, a lot more fire than we did, plain and simple. Because we miss out on Europa League. What's the big deal? We didn't have it this season. Genoa goes down. You know, that's a much bigger deal comparatively for their club than ours.
That's the thing is that. Go on.
If this is not about the game at all. If season's canceled, two teams come up.
We have 22 teams in it.
Yeah.
Would the following season would
do 5 go down?
No. I would imagine then they'd stick with it as a 22-team league. They've been talking about it being a little bit expanded for a while. I mean, it was 2005 when we swapped. 2004 when we swapped from 18 to 20. So to expand it to 22, you could argue it wouldn't be a major jump. I quite like it being a 20-team league. I think it's compatible with the other ones in Europe as well. Like the Prem's the same, the Bundesliga's 18. I want to say.
I foresee it going like this: if they have 22 teams, then the bottom 3 go down, and just the winner of Serie B goes up, and then it's back to 20.
That could also happen. Yeah, the realignment.
That would suck for the other teams.
For Serie B, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be one of them as well.
Eventually.
Yeah, probably.
Of the 3 team. Yeah.
They're going to be Nottingham Forest.
Oh, Forest are getting some slander on this, aren't they? They're doing all right. They'll be in the playoffs this season. Like, I hope they go back up. My great
Weren't they
uncle's
just
Forest
up a
fan.
couple years ago and then they went back
No,
down?
they haven't been in the Prem since
They've been-
1998.
Gone.
Okay.
They've had
It'd
3
be nice
years.
to see them stay.
Yeah, I like them.
They've never been in the Prem in the modern era, right? Like since it's been the Premier League.
Yeah, they've been in. They were in 3 out of the first 4 seasons and then
Okay.
vanished when they had like Stan Collymore and players like
Yeah.
that. They were all right then. Anyway, I'll ask a couple of questions just to wrap it up. We don't have a game to preview, obviously, because the league is the country's on lockdown, the league's on shutdown. So this is an interesting one. Obviously, we've spoken about what's gone on, but Andrew Dignam asks, how does Gazidis recover from this last 7 days? Feels like he's lost the fan base, and more worryingly, his actions have impacted the team. Obviously, we know that's the case. Everything's a mess at the moment. How does he recover, or does he just not?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it matters. He doesn't need to.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at the appointment of Pioli, #1 trending hashtag in the world at the time was Pioli out, and Pioli got appointed. When Boban got sacked, the AC Milan Twitter account was hiding Gazidis out replies, literally censoring the club. So I don't think it matters. Gazidis
I liked
can do
that
absolutely
from-
nothing at the moment.
I liked that from Boban when he gave the interview afterwards. He was like, I didn't realize we were in North Korea.
I know, like, but that's like some petty shit.
It is petty shit.
You
It
know,
is,
and
but
like-
then they proved his point by hiding replies,
Yeah, it's
which were fans
I think
expressing their right to criticize the club on a public platform.
I
Anyway.
think that Boban needs to be more worried about bouncing back than Gazidis because
I think FIFA's already offered him his job back, didn't they?
Yeah, but not until the end of the season.
right, but
Because there's going to be an ongoing court case regarding
Right.
this and whether he gets severance pay or whether.
if he wants to go back to club football, it's like, oh, so if you don't
Who's
agree with
taking it?
what we're doing, you're gonna speak out in the media? No, you don't do that.
That's true. That's
It's
true.
like a brotherhood. You just don't talk about.
It's
you know.
amazing
Yeah.
that he held like an ambassadorial role at FIFA when clearly links between then it doesn't seem to be a strong suit, does it, at the moment? But he
Holding
spoke
us
out
down.
while he was at FIFA. How does he recover it? Do you know what? I'm not going to say that it is completely unrecoverable, but it's 90% there. He's done enough since arriving as Gazidis to really piss. I don't know why I censored myself. Piss a lot of people off, including now people within the club, important people within the club.
Yeah, I mean,
And
his
that's
appointment was
difficult.
never like welcomed by the fans. You know,
No.
he started on.
Well,
He's never been liked.
You're right. Maybe he wasn't liked. There was definitely an air of like, all right, let's see what this guy does. But the thing
Right.
that you couldn't argue with his track record at Arsenal was how he transformed them commercially off the pitch. That's what he was brought in to do, was to try and bridge the gap between us and Juve in terms of the revenues that we're getting commercially, to bring in sponsors, increase match day revenue, increase ticket sales, all that stuff. But he wasn't brought in to do stuff on the
Sporting.
playing side, sporting
And that's
area,
what
yeah.
he's kind of
And
taken a
that's-
focus on.
And,
And
he did that at
ironically,
Arsenal.
the financial side has now dropped us out of the top 20.
So, how does he recover himself? I think he needs to be more open and honest with fans about what the vision for the club is under Elliott, if it is under Elliott, Gazidis, and he needs to admit that Rangnick is coming and what the thought process is behind that. And he needs to do that in front of the small shareholders group, so a decent number of fans are there as well. I think he needs to take a step back then. Once he's made that call, he needs to stand by it, and he needs to take a step back from the sporting area and let Rangnick take control of it and bring in the people that he needs to bring in to make this work. And number 3, learn Italian. Like, it seems a lot of people are pissed off that he hasn't learned Italian. So just do it over the summer. Just do it so you can talk to people within the club in their language. Sounds like xenophobic or like, learn English, but genuinely just do it, you know? That seems to be one of the main points that's come up in everything, is that he's talking to people in the club through translators. Not the end of the world, but
That makes it very
wonder-
difficult, though. You can't build a relationship that way.
Exactly. If he's talking
Look at
to
Bale.
Boban, well,
Exactly. Yeah.
golf.
He's been on the out and outs since he got there because he can't speak Spanish.
How long's he been there for now? 8, 9 years, and he has
Not
not
that long,
learned
but
Spanish.
He's been there a while. Yeah. Shoot,
He-
maybe it
he's,
has been. He left in 14, right?
He left a while ago.
13 or 14. Yeah. So 6 years, 6 or 7. Wow.
Man. Right. Giovanni Scaramuzzino asks, would you take Locatelli back?
No,
Yeah,
Oh, I would.
I have no
Oh.
interest in that.
I like it if it think
I
of
like
it
good
as a Rangnick,
stories.
think of it as a Rangnick signing. Like he likes young, energetic, hungry midfield players who can press. He probably fits that bill, does Locatelli.
I'd
Like
take Catrone back too.
Not me.
Bring them all. Yeah.
get the band
bring 'em
back
all.
together. Get the band back.
The boys are back in town.
Yeah. And then finally, Joseph Calvo asks, and I need to think about an answer for this. Which Primavera talent are you most excited for? And as a little aside to this, let's say the season is lost, or we realise that we're not going to get much more of the season, to play, whatever. It's going to be suspended. There's not going to be much for us to play for, let's say. Throw a few youngsters in. But yeah, which Primavera talent are you most excited to see?
I'm gonna go first. That way, no one takes mine because I only know like 2 of them. I'm gonna go with Maldini. He's got the name. I know he's been on the first team. He's made his debut already, but like he hasn't played, and I don't watch the Primavera, so that's the only one I got.
I'm gonna say that's the only one that you know.
Yeah, there's another guy with a C, like
Capani. Luan
Capani.
Capani, yeah.
There's also a guy with a B.
Brescianini.
That's mine.
Brescianini.
That's mine. The captain. I would love to. If Rangnick does come in, I would love to see him just throw him in and see how he gets on, because his goal scoring record is ridiculous from holding midfield this season. I know we're in this.
Most excited for Maldini because I like good stories, and his father and grandfather are both legends for the club. And let's make this kid a legend.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I would like to see
Legends never die.
I'm happy. I'm happy to see Gabby up there. He did. Cesare, he's died.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see Gabby up here, and I'd say so far he's mostly taken his opportunities. Wasn't amazing on Sunday by any means, but couple of I'll throw a mention in as well for Angelo Colombo. He's banging them in. And he turned 18 today, actually.
Happy birthday.
So yeah, happy birthday to him. He looks like he's got a really bright future ahead of him. Also, we're bringing back Tommaso Pobega from his loan at Pordenone, I want to say. And he's had an amazing season. There's people who've been comparing him to Castrovia, who's at Fiorentina, and I keep saying, we've got to sign this guy. He's begging to join us. Like, he's saying he's a Milan fan, Kaká's his idol, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we take a look at him in pre-season. I think Rangnick takes a look at him in pre-season, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, Brescianini is my shout. So that's it. A loss, chaos at the club. Everyone's pissed off.
You think the new ownership wants Rangnick in there?
Maybe.
Is that what you were saying?
That's a bit of what I was hinting at, if that's possible. Like if that's what the direction we're going, then I don't foresee where we have an exclusivity contract and a agreement with Louis Vuitton, and they don't have a say in bringing in the new coach if we're doing that right now. So to me, if there is one, then yes. But if there isn't one, then obviously it doesn't matter. So
also, Boban saying Gazidis has got the agreement. Elliot's official line is to deny it. Maybe, again, that feeds into this idea that Gazidis is going to stay around and be the guy who bridges the gap. Yeah, and he's the one who's sort of getting everything in place for if there was to be a takeover. We'll see.
And if Louis Vuitton is getting rid of Boban and Maldini anyways, then what point does Gazidis have to even communicate with them? I mean, obviously, it's petty childlike behavior, but if he doesn't speak the language, they're not friends.
Can you imagine if we just said to Rangnick, spend the money that you need, forget the salary cap, build the team that you want to build here.
I mean, that'd be great. It would work. He's a footballing genius. We'd be great. But yeah,
we've been saying this will work for the past 10 years.
I've never said it. I have not been excited once about anything in this decade. I was excited about Zlatan's return.
You're excited about your new car.
Okay, but sports.
And getting a dog.
And my dog.
Are you?
Okay.
Oh, I thought I said I'm getting a dog. I was like, nice, dude.
And getting a dog.
Yeah, no, he's right here. He's been here for a while.
Good stuff. The pet edition, anyway, innit?
Yeah, so I'm surprised he hasn't popped up into mine. He was chewing a bone all day, so he's dead.
I kept glancing. You've probably seen. I kept glancing down because my cat got his claw stuck in the carpet and couldn't move it and was like whining.
What happens when they're 19?
Bless. So yeah, on that note, I guess we'll end it here. We'll do one next week, even though there's not going to be a game. No doubt there'll be plenty of headlines to talk about. I mean, the length is probably going to be a bit shorter over these next few weeks without having any actual action to talk about, but I'm sure there'll be news stories and stuff to do. But in the meantime, I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher or at Kilpin Chronicle for some more explicit, and they're getting more explicit by the week, I must say, Milan-based rants, being joined by Anthony AJ Torgrud.
Thank you. Yeah, been here, been great. Torgid 45, over to you.
Yeah, nice episode. Hopefully we have some positive news to discuss next week. Probably won't until after the break is over. Going to be a great month here. You guys can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Madison_DT.
I don't know why. I was like, you looked so disinterested during that whole signing off thing. You were like looking down at your lap or something.
I was like, how do I spin this positive? I was like, there's
good way to engage
positive.
with the viewers, that Maddie, to end it. Show that you really appreciate them making
All right,
it
I'll
to
talk
the
to
end.
you guys later.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. We'll catch you in a week's time.
Tira Alessio, Suso, tira, perché non tiriamo? Ma perché non tiriamo? Gol! Alessio Romagnoli, gol! Alessio Romagnoli!